What's good, y'all? Welcome to my review for this week's episode of the 1,000-Year Blood War anime. And man, what an absolute just batshit insane episode this was. First and foremost, guys, sorry for the long-ass delay with this review. There was a good chance the review probably won't even come out till Sunday, because literally my entire day was robbed from me, because today was my grandmother's 80th birthday, so happy birthday to Grandma. And my dad dragged us all to go see her and go eat at Cracker Barrel to celebrate her birthday at the morning. But then with that, the traffic, the wait time just to get a goddamn table, just like 40 minutes, man. And then we went to go visit one of my cousins that we hadn't seen. I have no recollection of this woman since like the family reunion back in 2015. That was like helping her move into a new place, and then driving back, and then all that shit, man. It took away basically the entire day, man. And you guys all got full gear today. And it's like almost 6 right now as I'm recording this as I'm starting to get started recording the review. That it'll be a goddamn miracle. It'll be a Christmas miracle. I can finish the audio for this review by the time full gear starts. That'll be a goddamn miracle if that actually happens. The episode itself was fantastic. First of all, guys, we also did finally get the announcement for the dub of Core 3. The first 4 episodes are dropping on Hulu today, which is probably already up by now. But when this review comes in, they should already be up by now. So yeah, the dub is finally airing on Hulu. We're getting into that weekly schedule. I don't know why they went this route with the release schedule instead of just dropping all the episodes, at the same time as Disney Plus, instead of making us wait like 3-4 weeks, and then we're finally gonna get the Hulu. I don't know what that all about. That was weird. Another thing, guys. One other thing I also recently discovered, actually. After the previous episode aired, I figured... now, you guys know me. I'm a big guy. I'm a big fan of Fang. You guys know just threads, animation threads, episode like animation review threads on Hiroaka, the episodes as they air from season 6 as well as season 7. Love the dude, man. I DM him occasionally, man. We talk. Great dude. Love his threads. I've always been kind of wondering if we can ever find like the Bleach equivalent to that, and I basically found them last week. There are these 2 like Middle Eastern guys, kind of random that they're the 2 like Sakuga Fang guys for Bleach, the Fang representatives, and the closest we have for Fang that 2 that review are both from like the Middle East. But yeah, I found them with their threads and their videos they made, or tweets they made last week for that episode with Key Animation showing us some of the animators. Another guy that was making threads, man. So they're like kind of like your one-hit two. They're like your 1-2 punch combo thing. A good tag to it. I'll leave links to their Twitters down below in the description box below if I remember, so you guys can follow them if you want to. Also, if you're also itching or searching for the Fang of Bleach, there you go. So I was happy when I discovered those accounts, man. But anyway, guys, enough jibba jabba. Let's just jump right into the actual episode. So we start the episode off basically right where we left off last week with Uryu seemingly killing Renji, but obviously you guys know I don't think he's actually permanently dead. But anyway, which also I will say this real quick because I forgot to mention this at the start of it. While this episode definitely was not as good or as strong or as hype as the previous episode was with Uryu and Renji from an animation standpoint, that episode just looked absolutely incredible. There was a lot of really good cuts in this episode, I have to say, in its latter half, man. Which is when Mayuri's about to transform and everything, man. Like some of the cuts that we got throughout the episode, man, looked absolutely just fantastic. So, while this definitely was not as strong as the previous episode, this was still a really good looking episode, I will say. Anyway, after that, I also like the song that was playing during this part of the episode as well with Uryu and Renji. We then head back to the black dude, I forget his name, I'm sorry. Seemingly just letting the Soul Reapers just past him now. He's out there trying to shoot them. We then head back with Mayuri and Kenpachi, who, by the way, for any viewers that might know, you guys may notice that Hinataro was nowhere to be seen in this episode, man. Did he get lost on the way here? Did they outrun him, man? What happened to Hinataro? He was in the previous episode, joined the team, and now he just, all of a sudden, he's just missing. Where did Hinataro go? Anyway, Mayuri and Kenpachi met up with the hooded guy of the Quincy. I don't know if we actually got the dude's name before we find out that he is just the left hand of the Soul King. I forget if we ever got his name before then, what he was called, or I think we probably did. I just can't remember because I'm shit with names. But yeah, they're meet up with him. Kenpachi's wondering what this creature is. This kind of starts a little bit of a running joke throughout the episode, that was going on throughout the episode, where Kenpachi would say something and Mayuri would question whether or not that was a legit question or if he was just talking to himself. If you were talking to yourself, I'll just ignore you. It was a whole thing. But anyway, Kenpachi charges towards him, and then Mayuri knows something wrong, tells him to back away. As you see, like this, the string or whatever, there's something come across Kenpachi's arm right before he backs away, and we find out. And then while Kenpachi's arm got fucked up in the process from whatever attack the hooded dude did, but Kenpachi was able to crack his skull open, as we see the hole in the top of his skull just gushing out blood, which ends up leading into him beginning his first transformation sequence when he starts putting his nerve, which we found to be nerves, just into the buildings. And once again, Kenpachi's questioning what this thing is, and as I said, Mayuri is asking if that was a legit question or if he was just talking to himself. Anyway, we then head over back with Ikaku, Yumachika, and Nemu. Which, first of all, man, I meant this in my reaction to the episode as well. Which I'm also kind of hesitant if we'll do a double reaction for this episode because there was nothing really that crazy what happened, at least in terms of performances. But I might do this episode just because of the transformation. I haven't decided yet. Anyway, I will say that I'm glad to see that Nemu is finally getting a lot more screen time now and getting some dialogue. Because you guys remember, both Core 1 and Core 2, Nemu got next to no screen time and barely, if any, dialogue in either core. She might have had 2 lines across the first 2 cores of the Blood War. So it's nice to see Nemu actually getting some legit screen time now and actually getting in some lines. It's nice to see. Anyway, Ikaku mentioned that they missed their opportunity to get into the fight. Yumachika's telling bro, we don't have to get in, we don't have to go in there, we don't have to, we'll get shootout if we do. And then Nemu agrees with Yumachika. Ikaku comments how it's rare for her to ever voice her opinions, and she tells her that Mayuri always tells her to stay still until Mayuri calls upon her, but she doubts he'll ever do that, he'll ever feel threatened enough to call upon Nemu, and Ikaku shares the same sentiment with Kenpachi. Then Kenpachi's arm that the hooded dude got on starts spinning around and around and around and around before literally, this motherfucker Kenpachi rips his fucking arm off, stomps on it, and then grabs his sword off of it and then switches over to his left hand or whatever his other hand was. Yeah, that was kind of insane. I'm sure Orihime could fix that right up whenever the two teams, finally meet one another. Orihime is probably going to be working double duty, she's going to be busy, man. She's going to be busy healing all the Soul Reapers, resurrecting the Soul Reapers from the dead. She's going to be a busy woman once the two teams finally reconvene, which I'm sure is what's going to happen. But yeah, Kenpachi for the time being is missing an arm. And then as it continues spinning around, and then it literally just blows. It twisted as Kenpachi, I believe it was Ikaku that mentions, it twisted itself until it turned into a puddle of blood, man. It was pretty nasty. Which is only the first bit of body horror and that kind of stuff we got during this episode. And then Mayuri and Kenpachi continue talking, and once again continuing the joke, I can't tell if you're actually asking a question or just talking to yourself. Yada yada. Eventually Mayuri tells Nemu to tie his arm up and stop the bleeding. So while she's doing that, Mayuri continues talking to him, and Kenpachi, of course, he wants to just get right back into the fight. He just wants to stab and cut him down. Mayuri tells him cutting isn't the only way to fight. But Kenpachi, he then admits at that time he was talking to himself, and literally once again, even though this man just lost a fucking arm and saw his arm, explode into a puddle of blood, he still decides, fuck it, I'm gonna charge headfirst towards him again. Because why the fuck not? He thinks he can outrun the left hand's power. But he ends up making contact with her, cutting it, but doesn't end up budging or cutting it all. Instead, Kenpachi once again gets infected by the nerve power, and then Mayuri just stabs him with his Zanpakuto, and then uses his Zanpakuto to paralyze him with fear level 4. Ashisogiizo, if I believe how you pronounce his Zanpakuto's name. He uses fear level 4 by poking its eye out, which causing this this very high-pitched screech that paralyzed him, which at first I thought, the stress and everything from that and getting paralyzed straight up turned all his hair gray. But no, it was literally just the lighting from Mayuri's outfit that made his hair look gray in a couple shots. I thought legit his hair turned gray from the stress or whatnot. But anyway, Mayuri starts to approach the left hand a little bit closer, And this, but not, it's not face to face, but gets a little bit closer where he tells him that he knows that how his power works, and that's nerves. He slips his own nerves into the enemy's body, controlling their every move. He figured that was probably the case due to how he heard that twinsies can do the same thing, can do the same thing when manipulating their ratio by implementing it into their veins, which obviously which we do know is true from the shielding that they have, as well as we saw with each, and also while they are showing the last guys of Ichigo, cutting down the soul. So the left hand goes to attack Mayuri. He uses some sort of acid on it that causes pinning the left hand's arms, to cause the left hand to start shrieking like a baby. And I saw a tweet about this, but this also is kind of interesting thing about the left hand. Pernita, if I believe I pronounced this creature's name, the left hand of the Soul King, mentioned how it started the episode, he has like a baby's voice, but then as the episode progresses onward, he starts talking and his voice gets deeper and deeper and deeper as he matures, as this tweet says, and he's going to sound even better and complete his evolution in the continuing on to the next episode. So I guess this fight is going to continue onward to the next episode, I guess, Penagi has like a different form or something, but that should be interesting as well. But yeah, he starts screeching because of course it's acid directly on your nerves. Obviously, that's not very fun. As my question, he also mentions he also has countless drugs on the nervous system. He walks back towards Kenpachi. He says, "Hey man, I had to do this for your own good. Stop looking at me with such contempt." Then we see Kenpachi actually move his eye, which Mayuri is surprised by. He says you are indeed a monster and that he should work on enhancing Ashisogiizo's paralyzing capabilities even more when he has to stab him again. Of course, you got Ikaku kind of like, "Damn you, Mayuri," for like letting him, for stabbing the captain and everything. Before once again Mayuri approaches Pernangi, and man just starts waffling on about saying like that this is touching, sacrifice brings a tear to my eye. Noble victories are always achieved with noble sacrifices. Blah 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 blah. This is when Pernangi fully transforms and we see the left hand of the Soul King, which for most of its screen time was CG. Looks great. You guys know I've mentioned countless times that the CG in the Blood War has looked great throughout the entire run. It's great to fantastic. There looked to be like there was a couple shots where the left hand was hand drawn, but it looks like for most of its screen time it was CG. But of course, since anime fans are anime fans, at least that's what this is me going off a tweet that Chibi said earlier today when the episode released, that apparently there was a lot of people bitching about the CGI in this episode, which I never got, man. Like, yeah, have there been instances of bad CGI? But like, not all CGI is bad. Like, Bleach has had great CGI, Hero Waka has had spectacular CG, other animes as well, man. I think we need to stop with this narrative about CG equals bad, you know what I mean? But anyway, this is when Mayuri realized that is indeed the left hand of the Soul King. I really like the design of the left hand compared to the right hand, where you guys know the right hand was a closed fist that was stillness, and because this is called advanced, the left hand can move freely. There were like these chains on the nails of the left hand, man, and the eyes are now on the palm rather than on the back of the hand, like the right hand of the Soul King. These little differences I just thought was kind of cool with how the left hand differs compared to the right hand. Mimi Haki-sama, Mimi Haki-sama, Mimi Haki-sama. It's kind of cool comparing and contrast the difference between the right hand of the Soul King versus the left hand of the Soul King. Anyway, the left hand also then like grows in size till it's towering over most of the buildings there in the battle arena, which led to Kaku and Yumachika to question whether or not the Soul King is a giant. Which does kind of beg the question about that, if the Soul King maybe at one point before he was in this crystallized form, because I'm no Bleach lore expert, so like, I don't know if there's been any mention like light novels or data books, or Kubo during the Q&As he does or whatnot, man, or any other supplementary materials regarding Bleach, if this has been answered before. But like, what if I do Bleach that maybe before he was in like crystallized form, and he wasn't already always in that form from the very beginning? If that was like if he was before a massive giant before he got into that crystallized form, and that's why the right hand, or rather the left hand, can be able to grow at such a massive size. But whatever the case may be, the left hand that fires these like attacks from the fingernails of it, and then you add This fucking raving lunatic of Mayuri then starts like summoning up these like umbrellas basically that I'm assuming have some sort of like acid or toxins in them that you know that are deadly to Paninga's nerves or whatnot, because he always like he's like he always has like these cries after he attacks with each attack. So like I said, he's questioning, and like Mayuri brings up the question that all of us were asking if we found that this was indeed the left hand of the Soul King, is why is the left hand of Soul King, fighting with Yuha? And he says, oh, but he says like, it's just a trivial question compared to the joint thing right now. So he doesn't really care either way, as he keeps blocking these attacks. This is also when Perninda starts to communicate like insult to Quincy's, and other like very broken ass sentences, as we then see that we see that Perninda is able to move his nerves onto the ground itself and using it to like basically create like the hands out of stone or other attacks to try and crush and destroy Mayuri. This is where we get to start to see some of the really good cuts of the best cuts of the episode. For right here where Mayuri then literally turns into Spider-Man. He turns his hand into a grapple hook and then it's just swinging around from building to building to avoid Mayuri's hand, as we see like the nerves from Perninda like scammering up like buildings to try and catch and like squash Mayuri and everything, man. It was really good. The cuts here, man, were really, really good. Before we see like two hands collapse, I went to them with Mayuri, which I don't know for sure if he like just dodged it, because it's hard to tell without me going frame by frame, which I will once I start going through the thumbnails, when I go through and look for the thumbnail of the episode. Most like he like just managed to dodge it right before the hands came together and clapped. So we then had, after the commercial cards, which looked phenomenal this week, actually. The commercial cards this week looked incredible. This is the one for Perninda, man. That shit goes hard. We then get this quick scene with Bosby and Lily Toto, which she got some good dialogue, which is always a plus. That means more Jeremy for me, where she mentioned about him having a personal score to settle with Hoshwald, and that she'll take care of Yuha. And then Bosby says like, no, I'll kill them both. Giselle, fuck Giselle, man, I'd rather see them as zombies. Fuck you, bitch. Anyway, then cut quickly back over to back to Mayuri, where we finally see his new updated form. As he's right before he's about to hit the ground, Yumachika mentions telling him about how the nerves are all over the floor, and then we find out that Mayuri actually has like jet boosters. This man's like can now like hover around like jet boosters on like his boots, or like that he can now hover around like he's Iron Man, or as he mentions directly in the episode, the aerial hoo-hoo, if I'm pronouncing that right, that Quincy's use, Yorenki Yaku, if I'm pronouncing that right, Yaku, if I'm pronouncing that right, which I'm probably not. Which we've seen Uryu use a handful of times where he's just like levitating in the air. Now Mayuri is now learned and mastered this ability. He then like slingshots something over like this person. I don't know what the hell you could call it. So the body horror in this episode was dialed to 11. Where he has like this person that's literally just like their head and like a neck. A very long neck, like some Mr. Fantastic type shit. Not entirely sure what the story behind this was, but whatever. He slingshots it over to one of the fingers of Perninda, and then basically detonates it, and ripping off one of the fingers. He's like, alright, now time to take a sample, throw some acid on to make sure it's dead, and he mentions he's gonna get a jar and keep it fresh until then. But then we see that Perninda is able to like grow an eye from this destroyed finger, and basically works like I forget what the creature was in like Greek mythology. If you can, I forget, like it was like a dragon, a hydra or something, whatever it was, or if you kind of one had two more grow in its place. That kind of basically seems like, because like two fingers get ripped off from Perninda, and then like two extra hands form in their place. As you see, like an eye open up from his finger that launches some nerves into Mayuri's hand, and then Mayuri quickly. The animation on this was pretty good too. This is also probably the most shocking and nuts part of the episode, where then he quickly moves all his blood vessels, his nerves, and muscles to make sure that Perninda cannot take control of his hand. It was pretty nuts, man. Like, I was like, God damn, Mayuri. And then he mentions how it's like that his work wasn't the best as shy, and he mentions that it's been a while since he had to perform surgery with one hand. And he mentions that he seemed to have lost his touch. And then he says like, how embarrassing. And then Perninda's like, embarrassing? Are you talking about yourself for panicking? And Mayuri asks him, is that how it looks? Want to panic more? And this was probably like the best cut of the episode, man. This looked really fucking good. Where we see the now destroyed finger of Perninda start to grow into a full hand and start rushing towards Mayuri. I think the hand was still CG here, although it might have been hand-drawn. I couldn't really tell for certain. Either way, man, it looks spectacular. As Mayuri slingshots another one of those like bomb human things at the hand that once again blows it up. Then taking down another one of Perninda's fingers, and then this time blood starts to get into Perninda's eye, which obviously, as you can expect, burns like a motherfucker. You watch WWE many times, you know they mention sometimes whenever someone's busted, they mention how about the taste and how blood getting in your eye and all that jazz. And so, yeah, this obviously is not very pleasant for Perninda. And then we then get to see a flashback back to the prequel arc when we first saw Mayuri when he got out of prison while Kisuke was still a captain and everything, man. That original Mayuri design, man, is just so weird, man. Like, I'm not sure how to describe it. I wonder what you guys think of Mayuri's, like, original prequel design, man. Like, I don't know, it's weird, man, like, you know. But anyway, he mentioned how he read a book about that mentioned the Soul King's right arm with kill control. Still is one of the left one control advances, which we know from previous episodes. And then Mayuri says that knowledge gained from books is mere knowledge. He doesn't typically believe it unless he has proven it himself. And then by experiencing both hands in succession like this, he says, what a wonderful battle this is. So then after all that, Mayuri unleashes his Bankai, which Yumichika and Hikaku are thinking that it's his original Bankai that we have seen that spreads toxin everywhere and that'll kill anything within its entire area. So they're trying to get Kenpachi and run for the fucking hills. But Mayuri tells them that, oh, poison? I wouldn't do something so wasteful. And then we see this baby come out of, like, this fetus or whatever, come out of Mayuri's Bankai, as we then find out that it is, which first of all, this shot goes hard, I gotta say. With the baby kind of like looking like some like lord or something with Mayuri right in front of him, man. This shot goes hard, bro. I ain't gonna lie. This shot goes hard. We find out that this is Kojinki Ashisogiizo Matai Fukuin Shôtai. If I pronounced that right, which I think I did, or at the very least I got close. I am not Japanese. But we find out that this is basically an altered Bankai. Yes, Bankais can alter now, at least in the case of Mayuri. And that Matai Fukuin Shôtai is Kojinki Ashisogiizo. I promise, bro. Man, this these Bankai names so fucking long in the Blood War, man. Seriously, is his Bankai's variant. This is one of his variants that can give birth to a new Ashisogiizo, based on the data that he sends to it during combat. So then another Ashisogiizo just pops out of his stomach like a fucking chest burster, where we then find out that this Ashisogiizo has its nerves on the outside of its body, which means that it feels excruciating pain whenever exposed to air or the floor. In other words, it's always in pain, basically. So, then Perninda fires some of its nerves at it, and Mayuri explains that because of the nerves are on the outside or on the exterior, but they're separated by 70,000 layers. So even if the nerves do connect, all it does is remove one outer layer. So yeah, they're not gonna. So in other words, it's not gonna be able to take control of it. So then this new Ashisogiizo then just rushes towards Perninda and then just devours all three of these arms like they're absolutely fucking nothing. Swallows them whole, and we end the episode off with Mayuri laughing maniacally as we get the title card, Bleach 33, which is apparently actually the 400th episode of Bleach, apparently, which is kind of crazy. Baby, hold your hand. Phenomenal episode. Once again, the ED is in reverse. Once again, which I saw on Twitter after the episode had released, that some people were saying that this was due to Uryu unleashing some sort of ability in the previous episode. I'm not sure what the name was, but I'm assuming it's something to do with time. That's why the ED plays in reverse, I'm assuming. Which I do wonder, because like I said in the previous review, it works. It's surprisingly, ED still surprisingly works the same, both forwards and backwards. Makes me wonder if it was like built like that by design, because they knew they were going to do it, so they wanted to make sure that the ED could work. That with the song and everything, it could work forwards and it could also work backwards and still kind of keep the same flow and vibe and everything, man, and not feel out of place or weird. I knew one of us built like around that. But anyway, guys, that is where the episode ends. Phenomenal episode, man. Like I said, not as hyper, as insane as last week's episode in terms of animation quality, man. That whole fight with Furyu and Renji was spectacular, man. This episode is still a banger in its own right, man. Easily having some of the most creepiest moments of Bleach in terms of just body horror and everything, man. With Mayuri, man. Seriously, this dude is just fucking weird. I also just, speaking of Mayuri, I realized that I haven't actually talked about his new design. I spent a bit talking about like his original, like his prequel design, but I haven't really talked about his new design. I do really dig his new design, really like the jetpacks he got and everything, man. I don't know if I would say it's my favorite Mayuri design. I think the one we got in the second half of Bleach with like the blue, like, combs or frame he had around his face, man. That was probably still my favorite look of Mayuri, but this one is definitely an easy close second place for my favorite designs of Mayuri. That's just my personal opinion, man. But yeah, man, this was an incredible episode, man. Overall, I give this episode 9.5 out of 10, guys. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. You like it, if you subscribe if you're new. Follow me if you feel like it. Links subscribe below. And as always, come back for more. See you guys next time.